Okay, let me try this one more time. Technology does not like me, so forgive me. The computer sucks. Okay, here's a link. There you go. Now, I don't have anyone currently on. I have 126 RSVPs, so bear with me. I'm just going to go from the bottom, from what I have currently. And again, these are already written. They're on the AMA site. You can see exactly the questions I'm reading. I'm not going to read all of them, just so you know. Okay. Diane29 asks, do you feel like your characters are your friends, or are they most like extensions of yourself? My reply at the time was, it depends on a character. One or two are morphing into the extensions of myself. Others have become dear friends, and then there are a few I want so badly to kill off. And possibly by the end of the series I will. I've just grown to really not like the character. But I guess that's what a villain is really supposed to do, is not be well liked. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm not even going to pronounce the name on this one, but it's Giada. Who is your favorite author? Those of you really know me know I love Anne Bishop's Black Jewels series. It was one of the series I was reading before my strokes, and it was the first one that I was able to pick back up while recovering. So it really was a stepping stone for me relearning how to read. And if you look on my AMA, I have a lot of misspellings. I didn't have word perfect, so please forgive me. I'm a horrible speller by nature. Tamara M989 asked, how do you know if your writing is good enough or appealing enough to the outside audience? Me, I'm very lucky to have family members that are very, very picky when it comes to what they read. My mom, love her to death. Her only book series that she read that I know of is The Clan of Cave Bear. However, she reads everything I write, and if she doesn't like it, she will tell me flat out, I don't like it. So, in that sense, she's my go-to person. If I can get her to read it, I know I'm onto something. Now, my husband, he reads over my shoulder a little bit. He's not a bookworm, but he tells me if it's something he likes. And I'm going back and forth between Facebook and here in case anyone wants to ask anything via Facebook, which is fine. I can answer questions that way too. I had another person on the AMA ask, now this is more personal, this is the stroke itself, but she asked, what major life changes did you have to make? Prior to the stroke, I don't talk a lot about it unless I'm doing public speaking, then I do. But I'll touch base on this real quick. I went from working 40 hours a week to not being able to work at all. I went from volunteering in my daughter's school to not even remembering when she had school, when she was off, what day of the week it was. My family really had to step in those first few months right after the stroke, and then later my now husband stepped in to get me so I know my schedule. And then post-stroke too, I went from reading, being an avid book reader, to barely being able to recognize the words in the book, which is why I'm so thankful to the Black Jewels series, because I had most of the books memorized, and because of the memory, I was able to pick out the words again and relearn to read. A lot of these on the AMA are repetitive, so I'm not going to go through all of them. You're welcome to. I encourage you to. I have another question here. What do you do in your spare time? I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an author. I don't have spare time. I'm on the go constantly, and by on the go I mean working on the next book, doing things with the husband, with the daughter. She's currently in basketball, so she has a very busy schedule on top of the normal schedule. But we do raise our chickens as pets, do a little bit of video gaming. I do digital art. I used to love to paint, but it's really frustrating now because I have to use the grips on the paint brushes. So it's a little challenging. Here's a fun one. I was asked, did you enjoy English as a child? I can honestly say no. I found it boring. I found the subject matter not appealing. The way it was being taught, I didn't understand it. Spelling, I have no memory of how to spell things, even as a child. So I never got good marks in that. So English at the time was not my best subject. I had one or two teachers that taught it in a way that made sense, but unfortunately I didn't remember enough of their classes to really give me an effect now as a writer. I really do wish I would have paid more attention, or the teachers would have took time and explained it in a way that didn't put you to sleep. Another fun one is, how long does this take you to come up with a topic? Seriously? I have so many stories going on in my head from the time I get it up till the time I fall asleep. It's not the fact of coming up with a storyline, a character, a place, a thing. It's the fact of getting it to paper, or in my case, a computer, before I forget the storyline or the character or the action I want that character to do. It's more frustrating because I forget more than I have to come up with. But a lot of times I also sit down, look at the computer, and just start typing, and truthfully, I don't know where the words come from. They're just there on the top of my head, and I just type them out. Writing for me is the easiest thing for me to do. Explaining the writing or doing interviews like this, not so much, but I'm learning to have fun with it. Oh, here's another fun one. Do I have a muse? If any of you have paid attention to any of my previous interviews, podcasts, radio, or even some of the ones I do in like Serious Reading magazine, Pretty Hot magazine, or things like that, my husband is my muse. He sits next to me 95% of the time. He will start talking on a topic that is so far outside of what I write, but whatever he's saying triggers something in me, and I just start writing. Sometimes it's the best chapter of that book. It's freaky amazing, and I'm so lucky to have him next to me when I do things like this. No, he's not in the room right now. He may watch this later. I'm not really sure. I never really know when he's going to pop in or out on the computer. That's his thing. Katrina asks, how long have you been writing? Personally, I've always written little fanfics or little stories, poems for myself. When I was much younger, I did songwriting, mostly love songs or breakup songs. You know, the typical teenage rebellious write a breakup song when you have no idea how it feels. So I've always written something, but it wasn't until 2015 when my husband, love him dearly, challenged me to create something that wasn't based on another person's work or something that couldn't be published. He's the one that challenged me to publish my own work and see where it went. So now we're currently on book 2's coming out next Friday. That is like completely awesome from my point of view. You'll find a little bit, if you read the first book, you go back to the second book, which is the prequel. A lot of the plot holes get filled in, not all of them. That comes out in the third book I'm currently working on. But the writing style evolves, so is a lot different from the first book, but you'll find a lot of common threads. Another personal question. I was asked, how long does it take to recover from a stroke? From my point of view, and this is just me, I'm sure there are medical studies somewhere one way or the other, but I don't think you ever really fully recover. You adapt, you overcome, you learn new skills, you learn skills that you never knew you had, but you're never the same, so you can never fully recover. I mean, if you listen to my words now, you can probably tell I stutter, I miss words, I slur speech. Yeah, and the microphone, I sound pretty good, but really, that's acoustics. But no, you really never fully recover. I wish you did. I wish science evolved enough where you could fully recover and be the person you were before. But you can't, so it's sad, but it's reality. Okay. Where do you sell your novel and how do you market your work? Again, if you follow in my Facebook, you see all my work is on Amazon. The New Rain, which is book 1, is currently sold in 5 languages. By the end of the year, it should be in 9. I'm hoping to have release dates soon for the other 4 languages, which are Spanish, Hungarian, Irish, and oh shoot, I believe Italian. I always get the French and the Italian book mixed up, but unfortunately with my computer, because it sucks, I can't go on Amazon to see which versions are there and which ones are coming out, so bear with me. I'll post all the links later in the comments so you can go back and see them for yourself. What advice do you have for those aspiring authors? I talk to so many authors off and on. Some are getting ready to publish their first book, some their third or fourth. I give the same advice that was given to me. You have your own voice, your own style of writing. Let it come out the way it should, the way it sounds in your head, the way you envision it. Don't try to change it to fit someone else's idea of being perfect. Their idea, their good intentions are just that. They're good intentions. They're a stepping stone. That does not mean you need to change to fit their expectations. Just be careful not to listen, not to change yourself to fit someone else. You'll end up hating your own writing. Trust me, it happens. Okay, that's all that I have on the AMA right now. Why? I don't know. I mean, I have all these wonderful people that wanted me to do this, yet they're not on. A little sad, but then again, they could be on later. I'm not sure. So, I'm hoping to get on. Some of these are really great questions. Other ones are very repetitive. Feel free to look. I was hoping I'd have more attention being live so I could get your feedback and see what you wanted to ask me. But it doesn't look like anyone wants to chat live time, but that's okay because I know a lot of you are probably still at work. So, but I do, this time works best for me with the daughter schedule, my writing schedule, what's on TV, and when I need to relax. So, feel free, I'll be here. I have this accidentally called the husband, so he'll probably come in here in a second to find out why I called. Oops. No, my phone really does suck on this, but I'm trying to bring up so I can get the Amazon stuff for you. So usually is the only way I can do it if I do it off the phone and then give it to the computer. Maybe not. We'll see. Okay, so the book is currently available in English, German, Dutch, French, and Scots Gaelic. A little known fact, I did all the translations, so some of it is done with computer programming, but I read. My grandfather actually taught me to read foreign languages, but unfortunately he never taught me to speak them. So it's a little interesting fact about me, I guess. I think what I'm gonna do is grab my books and maybe do a little reading out of it, both of them. Give me a second. I'll go get them. I wasn't planning on doing that, but why not? It's my webcast. I can do it myself, right? Okay, give me a second and I'll go get them. Okay. Hi, Rocky. I see if you're on. So we're going to go ahead and start with the new Rain, which is the one that my flagship book. Get rid of the pop-ups. If you have questions to ask, need me to slow down with my readings, just say so. Just checking AMA real quick, see if there's anything new. I'm not seeing anything new, so when I do book readings, I just randomly pick something, but I want it to make sense, so alright. It was well past midnight when word had reached them, and at least an hour more before the shock had worn off enough for the tears to fill her eyes. Yet she hadn't been able to remain within her throne room. Instead, she had to explain this to her niece. But how was she able to find the words to say to her? How would she explain to Nisha that her mother had died? No, not just her mother, but her father and countless numbers of others who had yet to be named. Just hours ago, she had ordered a nursery to be put together for her niece. Just hours ago, she had hugged her sister with all of her might, trusting that she would see her in a day, maybe two, at the least. If she had known, it would have been the last time. If she could not afford to think about it. There was too much to do before morning, and much, much more to do after daybreak. So it was with a heavy heart she slipped into her niece's nursery that had hastily been pieced together with a hodgepodge of meshed furniture. Leaning over the plain wood cradle, Celeste quivered as she touched her niece's soft, milky pale face. Her own tears once again forced back. Well, Rocky, I would love to hear your wife on here. So she can ask questions or listen to me read or whatever. Again, I do have the AMA going on, and the link is in the comments. So back to the new ring. How do I tell you your mother is gone? Darling, stop. Pulling herself to her full height, she turned to the man who had stole her heart, her husband, Blake. His sun-kissed blonde hair still neatly in place, despite being woken in the middle of the night. Come, darling, you need to grieve, and I need to make sure the rest of our little family is safe. Of course he would. Being the captain of her guards, he would need to brace for an attack and find whatever answers that he could find. Then he would allow himself to be her husband and offer all the hugs and reassurances that he could. But not until he was certain their own kingdom was safe. You think? Blake took a full step into the room and closed his arm around his wife. I've spoken to your mother. The fire that took your sister and her husband was no accident. For now, I don't think it's wise to move Nisha any closer to the dark, nor either do I think it wise for you, the Queen of Light, to set foot in the darker kingdom. There was more, she could almost hear it, but she couldn't press him. Not tonight, not when her heart ached with grief. Taking some comfort in his embrace, she sniffled. Addie knew. Damn her. She knew she wouldn't see her daughter grow. He held her as she let her tears fall, held her until he was sure she wouldn't crumble when he spoke. Oh, love, you can't be sure of that. Pulling away just enough to consider his sea green eyes. I know, my sister. We have our differences, but I know her. I just can't decide if she wanted me to raise her daughter here or ask the Fae for help. The thought alone of asking the Fae for anything sent a quiver down his spine. The Fae are very difficult people. You know this. I do, and I know Mayonnaise is part Fae, and before you say it, I know her power will eclipse any queen in all the kingdoms combined when she is of age. For a moment he didn't breathe, didn't dare to. Until now, only Celeste and her sister could claim that they were the most powerful and gifted in their own kingdom. Are you sure? I'm sure. I came here to tell her about her mother. Not that she would understand, and was, my sister called them shadows or whispers. It vanished when I entered. I don't know, but I think it tasted her blood. If that is even possible. Then she showed her husband the little pinprick hitting Anisha's tiny hand. A single drop of blue blood already reforming. Still, her niece hadn't made a single sound, except those of a very happy baby. So that is part of The New Reign, which is available on Amazon right now. And we continue with Nisha's story, and maybe get into Celeste's a little bit later. Excuse me. Now, The Fallen won't be out until the 24th, Black Friday. Wonderful marketing idea on my part. Okay. So, let me pick a page here. Let me read a little bit more out of this one. Now, I did change some things from the second book from the first. The map's a little smaller, but I put in some nice extras, such as the family history of the royal families, which come into play much later in book 2, but they will be needed for book 3 and book 4. So you already have a start. I added a table of contents, which isn't in the first book, basically because I didn't know I needed one. But the second book, third and fourth, will have table of contents. The third book that I'm working on right now is 4 short stories that tie in the second and the first book, and will lead you into the final book. So, without further ado, 3,000 years before the Great War. So this is taking place 6,000 years before book 1. just so you can have a little idea. Those who have the power to create are abominations that need to be wiped out before they come into power. They will be the undoing of the Fae, from the royal doctrine of the ruler of Palace. And the little, so you don't get confused, Palace is the main city or main star, because most of the stars are cities. And yeah, it gets a little confusing, but I put a little bit of science fiction into my fantasy, so just a little tidbit. It's not all fairies and fantasy. It's also has a little bit of science to it. My daughter's getting into the science fiction part, so she's my inspiration as well as the editor, so hope you enjoy. Frustrated beyond all reasoning, she picked up her crystal brush and plopped down on her vanity. As her brush passed through her fiery red hair, she counted 1, 2. Gritting her teeth, she pulled the brush through her hair and slowly hissed 3. Taking a deep breath, she opened her dark, soulless eyes. Her parents were talking about her again, debating if they should make her tribute to the Star Cities or marry her off to one of the royal star families. Slamming her crystal hairbrush down on her vanity, she shattered both. Upset and pissed off, she pushed away from her now destroyed vanity, no longer caring if her hair was perfect smooth or a fiery mess, no longer cared if enough to shed the tears that she had so many times before. She no longer cared about much of anything. Holding the tears back, she held in all of her stronger emotions, her hurt. If you're going to kill your children, why ever have more than one? She growled to herself. Her parents were not only not in the room, but were deep within the palace itself, but not deep enough where she could not hear them when she chose, see them whenever she pleased. There was nowhere in all the star cities that she couldn't reach, couldn't see. Not that any believed her, not that any dared to. Another breath, and she turned to her door. Not much of a door when you could see through it. You could see through everything except a single room in the palace, and that room was off limits to everyone except the queen herself. Frustrated, she turned away from her door. Nothing was private on this miserable star. Nothing. Don't even think about knocking, dear sister, she snapped, letting her thundering voice rattle the shards of crystal that now lay on her floor. As the glass door opened, her sister smiled, though her sister was turned from her. Prima Vita, you are more agitated than usual. Why? Damn her sister, the crown princess Starless. Glaring at her, she dared not to say what was on her lips. Instead, took in her sister's rare beauty. Golden rays tumbled down her back, shimmering in the light of the room. Silver speckles dancing on her skin, but it was the eyes of the galaxies that saw everything. I will not marry a man who wishes only to have my power for his own. Ah, so her parents are at again, trying to keep you from the tribute, and yet you refuse. As she turned, her fire-red hair wrapped around her, revealing her wings. Wings that she was worn several times, never to let be seen. The only reason I'm still here is because of Avia. Starlight rushed over to her, placing her hand over Primitiva's mouth. Whispering, she said, "Shh, you know better than to speak her name." Pushing his sister away and nearly allowing her to tumble, Primavera asked, "She is my daughter, and I will speak her name whenever it pleases me." Regaining her balance and closing the distance between them, Starless whispered, "You will get her killed. Now hush. I cannot protect her if you do not protect yourself." Her sister was right, but only partly so. "You're right. I can't protect her while I'm still in Luna's nest, though." Then she turned sharply. She needed only a moment to decide what she wanted to do next. Only a moment to figure out who to bring the change that the Star Cities need. A sigh of relief. Then, finally, you're seeing reason. Another moment to decide, which is why I'm leaving. Closing her eyes, Starless tried again to reason with her impulsive younger sister. "You cannot just leave. There is nowhere in the Star Cities that you could go and not be found. Not that you could get anywhere other than the other Star Cities." She let her eyes slowly open and took a breath and tried to remind her sister. "Only messengers can go between the Star City, and they have special training and abilities to do so. As a second child, her abilities had been left untrained. Even so, there was no one more powerful. No one, not even her dear sister, and certainly not that fool Azia who ruled palace." Slowly, the room filled with black mist. Not uncommon, since she did this whenever she wished for privacy. Not that their parents allowed it, but then again, even they were powerless to stop her. Even Azia lacked the power required to stop her. Turning back to her sister, she made sure she didn't turn from her gaze. Made sure her sister's eyes met hers. Seeing the fear in Starless's face, she smiled, such a cruel and bitter smile. Hooking invisible hooks into her sister's mind, she spoke. "Don't worry, sister, you will not remember much of this. I do promise." "What are you doing? How? This is forbidden." "Yes, I know. But then again, I've never been one for rules. Now hush, and you will know what it is you must do." The hooks drove deeper, intertwining in the very fabric of Starless's mind. Defeated, her body sagged. "What must I do?" When asked, he would tell our parents, "I tried to flee when swept away in the void. I, in a sense, died, just as those who were foolish enough to try has done since the beginning of time." Starless was mortified of what her sister was proposing. "Your powers will never feed the Star Cities. Our family will have no tribute. Actually, it will have two. Since our parents are so keen on the idea of keeping tradition, they can offer themselves. Mother's powers will pass to you as queen, but father's, well, you can feed the catacombs of palace." "I suppose, but I doubt that Ozzy will check to see who has been offered as a tribute." Primitive smile. "I know you will not. Now, my daughter, you will raise her as your own. She will be your child, but your only child. Your powers are weak compared to hers, and she is only but days old. None outside our parents know I have gave birth, and none would think twice about you having a child with no interest in love. Because my sister can create life out of nothing. Yes, that is possible." "So glad you agree, since you won't remember much of this in a few minutes. Now, she stepped back and called in a single tribute box. Silver, but the inlays were not that of melting magna, but of shimmering crystal. This will be passed down in our bloodlines for 3 generations. That is 3,000 years where I'm going. This box will only open to the first male child born who is the firstborn. From now on, for the next 3 generations, the father of the child will be the tribute. No excuses. This instruction will be passed down to children of the crown. I understand. Calling the black mist to her, she smiled. No, sister, you do not. But you do not have the gift of foresight. But that is okay, for I do. Wrapping her arms around her sister, she gave her one last hug. Close your eyes, my dear, and I will be gone by the time you open them. So that's just the opening of The Fallen. I will warn my readers, it gets darker as the story progresses. This is not for those who are under the age of 13. Book 3, I give the same warning. If you have children who love to read fantasy novels, if they're under 13, this is not for them. This is never intended for those who are not teenagers or mature enough to read it. A lot of my fan base is those who are 21 to 65. The teens that read it, they compare it to a darker Harry Potter with a female lead. And when I say darker, I'm talking much more mature and not for children. I don't read children's books. I can't. My mind's just not there anymore. So I leave you with that for The Fallen. We do, at the end, it does entail the Great War. So I did a little blight with that one. And you'll find out in the first book, The New Reign, why the Great War was important. But it really comes into play with Book 3. Now, Book 3, I'm introducing a new kind of creature. It's going to be called M.L.Ruscsak. And anyone that knows biology knows necros is actually means dead or dying. So the creatures are part living, part not. And they're not anything you want to mess with. My husband is very interested in the description, so but I'm not ready to reveal that, but I will be drawing digital art or something to introduce that when I get ready to release the next book. That's still a ways away. I'm only about 30,000 words into the story, so. And if you read my books, they're roughly 80,000 words or more. So, anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm here for a few more minutes anyways. I'll be having AMA for a while. Oh, I have a new question, so let's go see what maybe the computer likes me. As we know, my computer doesn't always like me. Oh, I have 49 new questions, so let's see what we got. Okay. Okay, I can't pronounce the name, so I'm not going to pronounce it. But they asked, what time do you feel is good for you to write? My automatic answer is, if I'm awake, is a good time to write. In fact, if I'm dreaming and I'm thinking about my book and something comes to me in the middle of the night, I'll get up and start typing. I've been known to do this. This is how the new Rain got written. I'd wake up and start writing. So currently I haven't done that with the third book, which I'm thankful because I need sleep. But sleep is good. Coffee is better. So I'm going to write this out real quick. So there we go. The AMA site does not have WordPerfect, so please forgive me if I spell anything wrong. I think they need to add that to the thing. It would be wonderful if they did, but I don't control the site, so. Let's see. I'm not going to give away all the books, so I'm going to just do another short chapter from the beginning. This is a short one. So, I'm sorry, I drool. It's from the stroke, so sorry. It's disgusting, I know. I can't help it. Darn medical conditions. Okay. So, from the Fallen, Primavera took a step to the ledge of the messenger's gate and peered into the darkness. Messengers could see the lights of the other star cities. They knew where each one was located by some kind of locator spell. Anyone who dared, tried, never couldn't survive, since the spells the messengers used were forbidding to teach any who didn't have the gift of speed. Any with that gift were made into messengers. No exception, not even if they were royal fae, not even if they're strong enough to rule. That was fine. She wasn't going to another star city. She was going somewhere where they had no powers, where no one would dare to bother look for her. She was going to the speck of blue light that was so far away, not even the best messenger would dare travel. What was there? She couldn't guess, for no one had ever had the guts to travel there, or if they did, none had made it back. Last look around at her home that she had ever known, and she spread her black wings and drove into the darkness. Pulling her wings closed, she dove faster, falling, whirling past the outskirts of the cities. She could see them now that she was passing them, every single one the same, a bright light and nothing more. What a wonderful this was. Falling, whirling around, flying, actually flying. Why hadn't she done this long before now? Then a ball of blue and green, brighter than any of the star cities, growing bigger as she drew closer. She crossed her arms in an attempt to shield her face as she entered the atmosphere. Snapping her wings open, she tried to slow her descent, finding it almost useless, as she had been forbidden to use her wings at all since being a small child. Not knowing what else to try, so not to plummet to the ground that she could not see coming up way too fast, she closed her eyes and tried to create something, anything that had wings, something big enough to fly and protect her, then just below her. A white cloud chains becoming solid, sharp scales, then a body much larger than she needed. She didn't need scales, at least she hoped she didn't need a creature with scales to survive here. but it would do. A large head, as big as her whole body, legs, and finally 2 large wings, nearly 3 sizes bigger than its body. A moment more, and she tumbled onto its back with a grunt. Catching her breath, she patted its back. "Thank you for saving me." The creature snorted a cloud of hot air before saying, "You are my queen. Why would I not?" So, that's from The Falling. I hope you enjoyed the little reading. So, again, here's the cover. Wonderful. Maybe, there you go. Now, the cover that you're seeing here, it's a little different from what you're going to see when it comes out. The writing on the cover is a little different, the font, and the one spelling error on the cover has been fixed. So, I hope you enjoyed my little podcast. Until next time, I thank you for being here.